we're bringing you all you need to succeed in the real estate business. It's Spilling the LT, brought to you by Lawyers Title, telling you what it's really like to work in real estate.
Welcome to another episode of Spilling the LT with Lawyers Title. I'll be your host, Stephanie Allen. And today I've got two very special guests with me, Miss Laura Roach, who is a partner at McCathern Law Firm, and Miss Angela Deaton, who is a mortgage expert with Prime Lending. Thank you guys for being here today.
Of course. Thanks for having us.
So what are we going to cover today? What are we going to talk about to help some of our realtors, realtor clients?
I think specifically we were discussing talking about having, when you have a couple that you're selling a house for or trying to purchase a house that's going through a divorce, or they're about to go through a divorce and they're like, we want to sell the house and what do we need to do and where do we go from there? So just kind of, for me, normally I talk about just what to look out for from a realtor standpoint. And Angela and I work really closely together on a lot of divorce cases on what needs to happen at all the way up from looking for a house, you know, and closing at the final end of it, whether you do that before the divorce is final, before the divorce is filed, after the divorce is final, all those kind of issues that come up. There's a lot, and people don't realize.
I know, it's so much. And you guys are my go-to on anything divorce speak. Y'all know that because we've been doing our little expert panel for years.
Yes.
So I'll start by just asking. So, you know, you got accredited, right? You got certified in divorce lending, right?
I did.
Okay. So why did you decide to do that? What were you seeing?
I was seeing a lot of mostly women, but men too, but a lot of women who knew they were going down this path and they didn't know what to do. They literally didn't know. Some of them didn't know what assets they had. Some of them didn't know if they wanted to keep the house. They had no idea if they could keep the house, or if they weren't going to keep the house, they had no idea if they could buy a house because they've never bought a house by themselves. So I just saw a lot of women who didn't know what they were doing. And I was kind of coming in and being like, okay, here's what you need to do, because I've been down this road. And then I started thinking, you know, everyone needs help in this. You kind of need somebody to stand by and go, okay, here's your little mortgage real estate lawyer team to help you through this. So here's your attorney, here's your financial advisor, here's your title company, here's this, and we're going to take care of you and just kind of lead you down this road. So that's really why, is I just felt, and I felt sympathy for them because I've been there and I was in a different position, but I don't know, my heart just went out to them and I wanted to help.
Well, and that also brought you to a place where you are so creative in what you do, and you look at every avenue, and your partners help you kind of also open your mind to be creative. That's a part and why you have that group, you know, because you guys can work together. So with that, if you were going to, you know, if you were a realtor and let's say that they had a couple that was going through a divorce, what would be the first question that they should ask, you think?
Well, are they going to qualify for a house? I mean, I think a lot of people, and I don't know if she and I refer back and forth and we talk about a lot of these things as they're going. Luckily for me, I do so many type of cases, and I know sometimes I represent the person that's refinancing the house trying to keep it. Sometimes I represent the person going, like Angela was saying, I've never bought a house before. They're so scared anyway, right? Because they come in divorce and their entire life is turning upside down, whether they want the divorce or not. And so they just come in going, what do I even start? I had somebody last week. I said, okay, first you're going to call Angela. You're going to qualify, and here's the reasons why you're going to qualify. And they're like, I haven't had a job in whatever years. I'm like, I know, but we've already set this in play for you. And I think that's what's important is, and I think it's important for realtors to know this. You don't just qualify because you have a lot of money, okay? Because people think that you do. And it's like, it doesn't matter if you've got $2 million cash in the bank. That doesn't mean you qualify for a mortgage. You have to be set up. And one of the ways, like I set people up, and Angela actually taught me this and it's worked, is if you file for divorce, I actually get temporary orders in place so that I don't care if it's a spousal support payment or a child support payment, but there has to be a payment from one person to the person trying to qualify for the mortgage. So there's that history of the payment, and then she can take that information and qualify them for the mortgage.
Okay, I understand.
So, and then you have to show a 6-month history.
Right.
So when people are like, I'm fine, I'm ready to buy a house, and you're like, okay, how long have you been getting child support and alimony? 1 month. and then they have to wait 5 months and they're devastated. So we've kind of talked about like, hey, right when you start at the very beginning with temporary orders, start those transactions so that by the time they're done, they're very close. If they're not already there, they're very close to being able to go ahead and buy the house.
And so that has nothing to do with their assets. Only has, okay.
No,
so that's I'm sure that's a misconception,
right?
To the average consumer,
Yeah, and then if they do have a lot of assets, we have a financial planner that we work with that you can take those assets and then try to get them to show projection of income going forward.
Create
and you
an
can use
income
that.
stream.
But I'll tell you that, I mean, she and I, this is all creative stuff. I mean, most family law attorneys don't know this stuff, and I don't think mortgage people that don't deal with divorce a lot know this. And so we're kind of a unique little setup, and I'm just glad we became friends, and then, that's what happened. We just became friends.
I was going to ask that. I forgot. I was going to ask how did it all come to fruition, because you pulled me in to our divorce panel group, and that's how I met you, and so and Elka, and so but it's such a fabulous thing that we do because we learn something. I learn something new every time.
I do too. Every time I'm like, I didn't know you could do it that way. But that's why you have to, I mean, whenever you're, I mean, this isn't really for the realtors, but any time you're picking a divorce attorney or going through a process in anything, an adoption or anything that's life-changing, buying a business or whatever, you need to be around a bunch of different expertise, or at least hire a quarterback. That's what I call myself. Sometimes I'm the quarterback, and then I got financial planner, mortgage person, realtor, blah, blah. Hire a quarterback that knows all this, knows what they don't know, so they go and bring in the experts. Because that's always my deal. It's like, I only can know my stuff so much.
So you go get somebody.
But I bring in other people, to come on in. It's kind of like, penguins, if they get sick, other penguins come around and support them along the way so they don't get eaten. That's what it feels like. It's like, okay, you're in a bad, low spot right now. We'll gather the penguins and we'll get you.
It's going to be divorce, March of the Penguins divorce series.
I think
with a little happy feet. I think so too. Let's remember that.
Let's do that.
That's so funny.
So I just think, I think that's an important step one, but it really is. I mean, I was on the phone with somebody yesterday, and they were with a realtor, and they're shopping and doing all this stuff, and I'm like, whoa. We haven't even
qualify?
Yeah, we just filed for divorce. That's all we've done, and honestly, too, when it comes to divorce stuff, there's standing orders in place in most counties, and so you can't make major purchases. You can't spend, a large amount of assets unless you've got an agreement. And if you've got attorneys, you got to get in writing. Everything's got to be agreed to. So it does kind of put a little kink in there. So if you're a realtor working with a divorced couple, you need to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
And do you guys? Is it easier to sell the house, or better, I guess you could say, for them to be officially divorced and it filed with the county?
Well, it's easier if they're divorced and they've already done, special warranty deeds and transferred all that because then you don't have to worry about the other party trying to screw up the closing. And that can happen.
And that does happen all the time. I mean, for us, yes, we want that because it's Texas Homestead State. It's it's so much easier. But I just want to make sure people understand that, because some people I've seen, and even friends of mine have tried to stay in their houses, and I'm like, no, let's get this divorce done, and then
worry about it later. Yeah, but you can do it. I mean, I have clients all the time, especially if they have enough of an estate. They go and buy other houses. The problem is your spouse at the time, because we're a community property state,
has to sign off.
Right. And that's what they don't understand. And just because you buy a house it doesn't mean you have to sign off on being financially responsible for the house.
Right.
You just have to sign off on the documents that the house is being transferred and it is being mortgaged. You have no financial responsibility in the mortgage. But that's it. And then from a lawyer standpoint, let's say you go and put $50,000 on a house, you got to have that agreement on where does that go in the property spreadsheet, right? Because especially in our market right now, you buy a house and within 6 months, it's worth $100,000 more. So you want to, you got to make sure that that's all agreed to and taken care of. You can do it. And there's a lot of lawyers out there or people that'll say, oh, I can't buy a house while I'm going through divorce. That's not true.
It's a common misconception.
Yeah, you
really
can. It's just that she's calling me saying, hey, can we get this or what's going on or whatever, I mean, it just,
give me some money.
You got to jump through some hoops. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
but
definitely more hoops. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, it's not as easy as just a normal go down. But you know what I think? And I didn't realize this either. When I first bought a house, I was so intimidated about getting the mortgage. And so I remember that I haven't been divorced, but it's not that hard. I mean, if you hire the right people, it's not that hard, right? She gives you a list. This is the stuff you have to come up with. It's kind of a pain. But honestly, if you're going through a divorce anyway, your lawyer's
right. You already have it.
Yeah, your lawyer's asking for all of that anyway.
Yeah.
So you have the information.
So what do they need to know, let's say, if they're going to be putting down money from their settlement, from their divorce settlement? Right. What are some things that they would need to know?
Well,
so that's kind of a timing thing, but here's another really big misconception is, and Texas equity laws do say you have to have at least 80% of equity in your property at all times. So you can only pull out as much, you have to have 20% equity at all times.
Okay.
So you can only pull up to 80% of the value of your home.
Okay. Oh, so you're asking about pulling out for settlement.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I've got $100,000 house and I owe my spouse $50,000 cash.
Right.
What do I do to fix that?
Yes.
Okay.
And so a lot of them thought we don't have the 20% equity to be able to pull cash out. And so this is something that Laura and I kind of talked about early on. I'm like, they can do an LTea lien. And she's like, a what?
Yeah.
Like an LTea lien.
How do you spell that? An owl?
Yeah, I know it's the weirdest word, but you can pull up to 95%. So so I have a girl right now who.
I didn't know 95. I thought it was 90.
95.
That's great.
So I have a girl right now who she needs that equity buyout to be able to buy her house. And when she came to me, thanks to Laura, she said, well, we're going to have to wait because we're hoping our value goes up some more. It's not quite there. And I was like, what are you waiting for? And she's like, to have 80%. Like I have to have the 20. And I was like, no. We'll do an LTea lien. We'll do this. We'll do this. So a lot of it is just, and like I said, everybody knows that your attorney, they trust their attorneys, and they should. And there's some fabulous attorneys out there who have no idea what an LTea lien is.
Right.
And so it's just education, and it's just kind of, that's what we try and do with our seminars and stuff, is getting the word out there, because the last thing you want is a realtor to put together this transaction. You're all the way up to closing day, and guess what? She can't get her money out of the equity buyout. And so now this deal is crashed, and this realtor's sitting here with a deal that's fallen apart in front of her. Mama has no house. Yeah. He's mad. Nobody's happy. I'm trying to do the loan. It's just...
You're fighting at the title company. It's a nightmare.
So yeah, it's just knowing up front, if you're going to do that, if you are going to need the equity, the realtor, the attorney, and the lender need to be talking.
Okay.
And know timelines, equities, all of that before they write that in there in the decree, before it's final, because that way we can make sure that we're setting both parties up for success.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go backwards here, because what if the sellers can't agree on a list price,
the sales
price?
Her take that one.
Yeah, so
and she's expecting that money. You know.
So overall, so that's the first thing you have to do is decide who's going to stay in the house. I ask that almost in every consultation, especially now because there's so much. Homes, for the most part, are your largest asset, right? So it's the main deal. And if you've got kids in a custody case, there's all those kind of factors. So the first thing I do, who's going to keep the house? A lot of times it's, I don't want the house, it's too big for me. I want him to buy me out or sell it. Okay. Next step. What value are we going to use to, for him to buy you out? Because really what a court does is if you can't agree on the value of an asset, then the court just orders it sold. Because then and you just split the proceeds 50-50. It's just like a pension plan. You don't really know the value of a pension plan, then you just split it 50-50 because that's equitable. In our court,
what it sells for.
Yeah, our court is one of equity, right? We want it to be fair. So we have so once you decide that, and then I'll be honest with you, especially my age, I'm 50, right? So a lot of my friends are becoming empty nesters and people they know. So they come to see me, they're about my age, they're about to be an empty nester. Oh, I have to keep the house. And I'm always like, why? Why? I understand. I'm very into my house, so I get it. But I'm always like, why? Okay, you understand the upkeep, you understand you're not going to have the income, you're not going to have this. Can you really afford it? And then we go through that process. And then if they decide, no, I really do want to sell it. Okay, I think it's worth $800,000. And husband will say, it's worth $1 million. I know it is. It may be. I don't know. So
it might be right now in this market.
In this market, yeah, set your price, just make it up. So in that case, you either sell it, right, or you agree, okay, we're going to get 3 appraisers, and then we're going to
pick the middle.
Yeah, we're going to pick the middle price or average them, or we each could pick one to throw out and whatever's left. There's different ways that we end up doing that. Or you just pick one appraiser. Like there's certain appraisers I use all the time, so I just pick that one if everyone's in agreement with that one, and it does the appraisal, and then we have to look at it from a factor of, it's not that they do the appraisal and everyone agrees to it, because they may not. They may be like, they didn't even consider this house down the street that sold for less than that or more than that. So then you can wiggle room it or whatever a little bit and argue, but that's basically what you do. You either agree on a price, get an appraiser and agree on an appraised price, or sell it. Those are your options. If you're in the middle of this and you don't agree, then if you have an attorney or whatever, you usually have to go to court. And, like my husband's a judge, and he's talked to you guys about this. He's like, I just set a price. You just tell me. I'm like, we're going to list it. Well, he did. I've done this before. I think he's done this before too. But, you say, okay, it's going to be $500,000, and every 3 weeks it goes down by $10,000. So boom, boom, until it's like, fire sale, right?
He's just getting the deal. He's just trying to get it done.
Right. Yeah. That is why you don't want to take cases to court right there, because you have zero control once you walk in that courtroom. That's why I encourage people to settle. I go to court all the time, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending. But settlement is always the way to go, because you can control things like that. I mean, I wouldn't want my price of my house going down $10,000 every 3 weeks if you know what I mean?
Right.
You need to hang on.
Well, no one would.
But you have to force it. I mean, a lot of times in divorce, they think, oh, everyone's going to agree to sell the house. Not true. You have to file a motion, ask the court to sell it. Now, and there's factors considered, right? If there's kids, and that's where they normally live, and is either
school district.
Yeah, school districts is either party, because the court's always going to look for the best interest of the kids, right?
Right.
So there's so many other factors in it. It's much easier if you just agree. We can complicate the heck out of it, or
you can complicate the heck out of it,
or you can just manage your life like you would normally.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm always like, listen, you married him, you spent your whole life getting in this mess. I will do my best to get you out, but I can't promise that it's going to be smooth.
Right. Of course. Okay. So let's say let's say the husband decides to stay in the house, and they don't. They refinance? What is the process with that?
Well, unless that house is going to be 100% in his column, meaning the value, that's going to be his asset. But if she needs her equity out of that house, her column, whether it be that she needs it for down payment on a house or whatever the case may be, given their financial status, then they're going to have to figure out. And again, a lot of times they'll do 3 appraisals, or they'll do the 1 appraisal for the refinance and agree in advance, because we can't pick an appraiser. So the appraiser is going to be random.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we're not allowed.
I learn something every
day. Every time we learn something.
I know.
But no, we are not allowed to pick appraisers. It has to be random. We're not even allowed to talk to appraisers.
Yes,
they're crazy. We're not allowed.
That makes sense.
Not allowed.
I see.
So a lot of times, most of my couples will agree, we're just going to go with what the appraised value says. And we're going to divide the equity up based on that, and then figure out. And that's where the LTea liens come back in, depending on how much equity they have in the house. Then he can refinance, and that serves 2 purposes. One is getting her the equity out of the house. The other, and this could be her, him, the other way around. But
we're not sexist.
No.
We're not really, kind of.
But the other thing it serves is, if they're both on the mortgage and title, we need to get one off.
Okay.
So whoever is going to keep the house, they ultimately want the house in their name only. They want the mortgage in their name only, and then they want, the equity goes over here, and so this is just their house, and they don't have anything. And then this one is free to go get another mortgage, because she's not held down with that mortgage over here.
Right.
So that's kind of how that whole thing works. If one person wants to, whether it's mom or dad wants to keep the house, then
I always recommend, if you get the asset, you get the debt with it, because there have been people going, well, I'm going to live in the house, but I'm going to have my husband, I'm being sexist, but you know what I mean, my husband pay the mortgage, and that's going to be the support. I'm like, that's awesome. The house has gone to you, the equity's gone to you, and then he doesn't pay the mortgage.
Right, and then what happens?
Then what? So it is really better to have a clean break. I will tell you this, the 2 most litigated things post-divorce are children and problems with the house refinancing or whatever, because us lawyers all the time to get a case settled will go, you're going to refinance in 90 days or the house is going to be sold.
Right.
Okay. So that's awesome in writing, horrible in trying to get it implemented unless you have the plan, right? So she can't do it in 90 days. Something comes up, we don't have the proper income or whatever, and then it's 90 days and the husband's going, we're selling the house. Well, then a realtor doesn't want to deal with that because you got two parties that are like at each other. So that's when probably the lawyers end up getting involved, going, can we have an extension of 30 days, or, you know, or the other side will hire a lawyer to file an enforcement of that provision to force it on the market. And then, like we said earlier, the court gets involved. And if the court gets involved and the people really hate each other, which happens a lot, not a lot, I shouldn't say that, but it does happen if there's a lot of animosity, then the court will appoint a receiver who controls the wholesale. And then you have, I mean, again,
no
zero
control.
say. Yeah. They do the repairs, they do everything, they take the money out of the proceeds, and then you get what you get. And again, that's for your largest asset, that's not a good thing. But
I agree. I mean,
but you want to handle, if you have a plan at divorce, you're not going to litigate it post-divorce, you know? And I've been doing this 25 years. I've done lots of post-real estate, post-divorce actions. I don't want that. I want, if you're going to get divorced, I want you to get divorced as clean as possible, and then hopefully never need me ever again. You know, that's the goal, right? My goal is to be out of a job, not to have more work because the decree wasn't done correctly or whatever. So
or they'll come see you again because they're running a prenup.
Yeah, well, that's, hey, I am. You guys all know that. I am all about prenups, post-nups. I'm good with that.
That's going to be another spill in the tea.
Actually, that's a whole other show.
That's a different one. Spill in the tea.
I like doing prenups, so it's fun.
So what else do you guys see out there, like with the agents? I mean, y'all both get agent calls. What are some of the top questions that you guys are getting right now?
I think one thing with agents is they trust their clients, and they should trust their clients, but the client isn't lying on purpose, but you know, they'll say, well, are you sure you can qualify for this? Well, yeah, because I get $15,000 a month child support, or, you know, alimony, whatever. They need to be in touch with that lender, like from the very start, and make sure, how long have they been getting it? Because if you're a conforming loan amount, 6 months is all you need. If you're jumbo, you need 12. So whatever the price of that house, whatever the loan amount's going to be, they need to know. And so a lot of times they just think, and from the client's perspective, they are telling the truth. They are getting $15,000 a month, but the realtor doesn't know to ask how long, and neither does the client know that it's going to take that long. So it's one of those things where I would say in any divorce situation, the best advice I could give a realtor is, number one, have a have a lender that knows divorce law and what they're doing, and then have a family law attorney that knows what she's doing, which he. That's I keep forgetting that.
We have a little girls club today.
Yeah, we kind of do.
We keep forgetting. But no, I mean, just having a team around that and talking to both parties right up front to make sure you're setting that sale up for success and the client set for success. Because a lot of times it's the panic at the end. It's you're 3 weeks in, it's 10 days before closing. What do you mean they can't qualify? Well, they've gotten alimony for 2 months. I don't have anything to work with. You know, can we change money from this IRA? Can we do a quidro? Can we make it this? And then everybody's in a panic. Whereas if we would have just all talked up front, we'd have a plan and it could be smooth sailing for everybody. So that would be my top thing I would say to a realtor, especially in this crazy market, is just talk to everybody up front. Reach out, make sure we're all on the same page.
Well, you guys have both saved not only my clients, but my friends. Like, y'all helped my friends, and so that's just, it's huge. So having you guys there so that I can point people in the right direction, because I don't know. I've never been married or divorced, so I don't know.
You're just gathering your penguins. That's all.
I am gathering my penguins.
Back to the penguin thing. Well, and I'll tell you, clients are relieved too, because they don't know. I mean, you start the process, it's so overwhelming, divorce, and like, I don't know, do I need my own financial advisor, or do I keep using the one we've been using? Or can I qualify for a house, or can I? So it's almost a relief when I tell them, they're like, I don't know if I, can get any of his IRA or whatever. I'm like, hey, call my friend Elka. She will take care of everything financial advisor wise. And then call my friend Laura, because she can take care of all the legal stuff. And they are relieved to have, and title company, you need a, quit claim deed, call lawyer's title, whatever. They are almost relieved when you surround them with their penguins like that.
A new deal. I just made that up. I didn't make it up, but
I love it.
I like it.
I like it.
But no, so that's a big thing and then the realtor can jump right on that team and everybody's working for the same goal and the same person. And I think that helps. That helps a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think my number one thing I would tell realtors is just because you have a stay-at-home parent doesn't mean they're not going to qualify.
Exactly.
We could be creative about it because and I'll tell you, one of the things I love about my job is I have people come in, and men and women both. I represent just as many men, sometimes more than women, but come in, they're devastated. They're like lost, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then to see them evolve through the process and then get them divorced and see the person they are, like, and I always say that, I'm like, this is the worst time in your life, but once we get through this, you're going to be fine. And I have clients sometimes that'll text me, are you sure I'm fine? I'm like, you're going to be fine. I promise you, we're going to get through this. We got it. We got you.
What do we call it? Character building?
Yeah.
This is,
listen, and that is true growth, right?
Yeah,
I mean, all growth comes through pain. And if things were easy, then it's probably not worth it, right?
Right.
If it's easy to get through it, it's not worth it. So I think that's probably the best advice I would give a realtor is that don't give up on the sale. We're not saying you're not going to qualify. We're just saying that we got to get a plan to make sure they qualify.
Okay.
Right. And so I think she's right. Women who haven't worked, or if there's a case where the man hasn't worked, that too. But even more, I know silver divorce is the term people are using for, like she said, empty nesters, people, their last kid just went to college and all of a sudden they're like, who are you? And why do you live in my house? Like, let's go. And
does that make us silver? Because I don't want to be silver.
We're not silver.
Okay.
We are not.
I mean, I'm a little silver, but we covered that up.
No, that's hair dye. Anyway, no, but I think those women break my heart when they call me because they have literally devoted their lives to raising children. Not that I haven't while I was working, but I'm saying they haven't worked. They don't have a career. They don't have a salary. They don't have, and they're thinking there's no way in the world that they could qualify for a house. And they're thinking, I'm 55 and I'm going to live in an apartment. And it's devastating for them. But that's not the case. Like she said, with assets, we can get right up front, get the financial advisor in there and say, okay, what can we do to create an income stream for this lady instead of, because the fact that she has $2 million in the bank does not help her qualify for a mortgage unless we act up front and fix it and make sure that we've got an income stream. So I think you tell me that if you are seeing more and more, but I keep reading statistics.
Maybe my age,
well,
too. Well, I don't know. I think Viagra caused silver divorces personally, but that's a whole nother. That's another show. We'll just talk about.
We'll wrap that in later. Prenups that are
exactly. We'll do that.
Yeah,
but I'm serious.
Yeah,
but there's a lot. I mean, and maybe because I'm 50, and so I have friends that are becoming empty nesters, and like I said, it's just kind of an age process thing that maybe that's why I'm seeing older clients but no, I think the divorce rate is absolutely higher up, and I think it really just comes with more independence and having penguins like us where we're like, you can get divorced and still be okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to
stay unhappy.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't have to.
That's what I was going to ask you is if you knew the new percentage, like if it was up or divorce rate.
I don't think it's up. It feels like it because of COVID.
Right.
But I think what COVID did, I think it compacted. Like it was people that were going to get divorced anyway.
They just sped it up a little.
Yeah.
They just sped it up. I think.
I would agree with that.
I'm not actually now in different counties, especially in North Texas, between Collin and Denton County are exploding. So we have a lot more divorces being filed, but I don't think overall statistically there's any more.
Right.
I think there may be the statistics on the silver divorce has increased, and multiple divorces of people after they're 55 or 60 are increasing. I know that.
If you do it once, why would you want to do it again?
Just don't get married. Just come see. I mean, just don't. I'm like, why?
We'll share your whole theory on that on another show.
Yeah, I got that too. We'll have I got a list.
I'm like, how long do we have today?
Yeah.
I'll go on that one.
These are different.
That'll be the late night episode.
Yeah. Amen.
I mean, I'm totally against divorce, which is funny because that's how I make a living, but I really am. And I always try to tell people, don't do it. If there's any way to fix your marriage, fix it. And there are ups and downs in marriage, and marriage is hard. It is. Right. And if you think it's not, just wait. It will be, but I try to get people not to get divorced.
Yeah. I know you do.
I can't fix, miracles, but I can't do miracles with them. But
yeah. But if they do, then lead them down the best course.
So this isn't really on this topic, but I was going to ask you. So, what are you seeing out there? Rates are increasing. Like, how do you feel?
Crazy. So, I literally had a couple. They talked to me. I guess we talked like right before New Year's. So maybe the 28th, and they were, I want to say, high threes, and they came back this week. So the rate would still be that, like 3875, 37, whatever it was. And I'm like, oh no, we're in the fours. And they were just like, really? What? I'm like, yeah. So, I mean, obviously every product is different. Every program is different. But what I can say across the board is rates are going up.
Right.
So it doesn't matter what, it doesn't matter if you're 3, 4, whatever, they're going up from where they were. So everybody hit the low point with COVID and all that. And that was great. But, I'm telling people, if you're on the fence, get off. Just go ahead and jump off. And, if you're like, I think I'm going to buy in the next 6 months, make sure you talk to lenders about long-term locks. You can do that. You can walk out in up to a year. And
wow.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So, and a lot of people don't know that. And so I would say the Fed has pretty much guaranteed they're going to raise rate their next 4 meetings. That doesn't mean it's going to happen, but they were very adamant about it. So we know they're going up. So it's like, just if you are thinking I should stop renting and buy, you should probably do it now.
And if you haven't refied by any
well, and
there are still people out there.
That's going to affect all the stuff we talked about, refinancing, getting the house out. That's probably going to increase sales because people aren't going to want to get the 5% mortgage or whatever. You know what I mean? They're just not, and so. I think that may ultimately increase sales, which is good for realtors, right?
Oh, it's great, and it's great for a market. Our problem right now is the inventory,
and there aren't any houses,
right? Yeah. So, so the rates ticking up just a little bit kind of help us,
right?
Not too much because it slows people down a little bit. Yeah. But the bottom line is people are still coming here. And they're going to continue to come in here. So we've got to find out, we've got to get some inventory. So, and those people, like, if you're a landlord and you want to get rid of a property, like start thinking about it because this will be the time to offload some of those.
Yeah, before the interest rates go so far up that people don't want to buy, they just rent or whatever.
Right.
But we've always been in a robust market here in North Texas, and we really have. I mean, the 22 years I've been in the business, and you've been in the business as long as me.
Yep.
We've had a great market.
Yeah.
We took
even when
rates
were in the 7s, we were closing deals. So
that's when I bought my first house was 7%.
I think mine was too, honestly.
So you couldn't get my rate because I think you got me. I mean, I was like rock bottom.
Yeah, you were like
awesome.
In the 2.99 or something.
I think it's less. It's like 2.8 or 2.67. Like it's like an amazing rate. I'll just
Yes. I was going to say, just stay.
Yeah. So. My first home I bought for 7%. My dad and mom bought their first house like 18% or something like that.
So it's funny to me when people go, oh my God, 4.25%? What? That's so high.
I remember when we thought it was wonderful.
And I'm like, okay, 4.25% is great.
Yes.
Like that's really, really good. The 2s, that was crazy.
I know.
I mean, and we've had refi booms, but that was the biggest one I've ever had in 18 years.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, who knows? It could happen again. We'll have another strain or strand come out or whatever. But the bottom line is 4.25% is still a great rate to have. It's still a good time to buy. You've got equity in your house that may be a little bit inflated. So take advantage of it. If you're going to have to go put down more on another house. But at least if you're wanting to move, that's a good time to do it. Just make sure you've got a good team of divorce or not. Realtor, lender, title company, divorce attorney if you need it, and just making sure that you've got all your ducks in a row before you start the process.
Yeah, people need to act now then. I did not realize that they were going, I mean, I realized they were going up. I didn't realize that much.
That fast.
It's going to do that. Okay.
So if they're already in the forest by the end of the year, we'll see, right?
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be
because they did it immediately. I mean, I thought it was going to be March. And
they went up so fast.
So as the divorce attorney, I'm right now literally in my head thinking of the clients. I'm like, oh, I better get them in that process. They better, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because now I may speed it up. Instead of being all nice and let's wait till we're done and blah, blah, blah. Now's where I may go, okay, let's get it done during the divorce because
that's good. So that's something the real estate agents need to look out for too.
Right.
Exactly.
And need to encourage if they're talking to someone that's, in a divorce and they're saying, no, I'm going to wait until later, then they need to know no, talk to your attorney. We may need to get this done while the divorce is pending because of these reasons.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And there are a few more, like she said earlier, there's a few more hoops to jump through, but it can be done. So especially if it's this beneficial to do it while rates are lower, then just make sure, you know, everybody's together on the same page on what we're doing, and make sure it goes smoothly.
It's like the one I sent you last week. I may turbo that.
Yes. Yeah.
I may encourage that one to get moving right now.
Yes.
So.
Do you guys have anything other than what we've discussed that you would want to highlight or talk about?
I think we covered
it
all.
I think we kind of did.
I mean, I learn something different every time. So
I do too. I love it. I'm always like,
I didn't know about the lock for, you know,
a year. I didn't know it was
Amazing.
95% on the LTea. In my brain, it was always 90. That's what I've been telling people. So that's even better.
That's even better.
And
It's 95. The only thing I would mention real quick is if, like we've been talking about, if you close on the deal, or if, you know, let's say both parties. So in my situation, when I got divorced, we sold our house together. I bought a house, he bought a house. We were not final when that happened. So I had to sign the deed of trust for his house. He had to sign the deed of trust for my house. And then when we were final, we had to sign each other off. So if you're amicable, no big deal. Just like, here's a little paperwork we're both going to have to do. But the real estate agent needs to know that ex-spouse is going to have to sign like 6 documents at closing if they're not final. So if it is not an amicable situation, and we've done things where we send a mobile notary to their office so nobody has to see each other.
We sneak them in the front door and one out the back.
We have to make sure that they're going to sign, because otherwise, from a realtor's perspective too, you can be sitting at the closing table, and if he's not going to sign the deed of trust or her, it's not closing. So knowing that up front, what documents are going to have to be signed, making sure. I've had many calls with the ex-spouse to explain, you're not financially liable, you're not on the hook, you're not on the mortgage, you're just on title for temporarily, you know, and you're going to come right back off. So it's not a big deal, but it is in an angry.
There has to be trust.
There has to be trust there.
I'm going to tell you, it will not happen unless there's amicableness. But something I didn't talk about, and this is really important, is if there's domestic violence in the case and a realtor is working with both parties, they need to be very, very careful. And just, first off, use instinct and be smart, right? But don't have the parties together. You're going to have to talk to them separately. Be aware that there's been these, and people think, oh, it's the men doing domestic violence. I'm going to tell you, there's no room for sexism. It goes both ways. And
crazy women up.
I think, and I think, and I see realtors really need to be aware of that. And the way they can become aware of it is to either talk to the attorneys or look the case up online in the county that they live in. So wherever the clients live in, look up in that county and see if there's a protective order filed, or there's restraining orders are for all kinds of things. But if there's a restraining order, look and see if it's for domestic violence or not. That is really, really important, because you do not want to get in the crossfire of something like that. And you need to be aware and make sure on the closing you use a mobile notary or something else, because
set up separate time.
You do not want them. You don't want to
blow up.
Listen, you don't want a incident occurring in the parking lot,
right?
You know, so you need to make sure that you're aware of that. So that's something we had not talked about. The other thing I was going to say is,
obviously this is hot, like in your mind. So this
all
something
the time
that you're dealing with.
No, all the time. I have to always be aware of that. And you know, I mean, I've been doing this a long time.
You've seen it all.
I've had clients killed by their, you know, husband and you know, those kind of things. So you have to be really careful. But also the other thing is, you can get divorced and nobody refi and nobody get off the mortgage or anything. There's documents we can put in place for that. It's just risky, okay? Because it's risky to your credit if you're the one out, and it's risky if you are awarded the house and they don't pay the mortgage, or you don't pay, you know, something happens or whatever. So just realize you can do it without all these things, but I don't recommend it ever. I don't.
No. And let me just jump off that. If you have a divorce decree that says that the spouse is responsible for the payments, they typically are going to want to see a history of it. So it's not an immediate, like, okay, we're final, I can go buy a house, that mortgage doesn't count anymore because it's in the decree. And it depends if it's jumbo, conforming, government, whatever the case may be, but they generally are going to want to see some sort of history, just like with child support. I mean, yeah, it's in the divorce decree. Yes, they're court ordered to pay it. That doesn't mean everybody does.
That's not
so they like to see that.
And you're talking about when the spouse is still on the note.
Yes.
Because nobody refinanced.
Right. Because nobody.
Angela's trying to get him a mortgage, and they're like, well, wait, he was awarded it.
Yes.
She's saying, Yeah, you
Right.
can't. You got to show it.
You have to show at least
a couple months. Or
3 months. You need to show 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
But
good to know.
But the bigger fear in that is all of a sudden he loses his job for some reason, or he gets remarried, or whatever the case. And if they're late on their mortgage, it does not matter. Your credit score is impacted, whether the divorce decree says it was his responsibility or not.
Yeah.
Yours is impacted every bit as much as his. So I would strongly advise people refinance that person off if you can. I mean, I know not everyone can.
It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't always work that way. But if you can, that's the best way to go, because then you're just, everybody's safer. You know, there's not that risk out there.
If everybody could just be kind to one another in those situations.
Can't we all just get along?
Can't we just get along?
It would be awesome. It'd make my job a lot easier.
Yes.
I don't know how you guys you do it every day. I mean, we see emotional sides of things, but you see
way more.
Yes.
Way more.
Yeah, I mean, people come to me in their worst time. My husband always says that family law clients come in his courtroom that are really nice people at their very worst, and then some of his bad criminals come in the courtroom that are really bad people
at their best.
Yeah, like it's this weird, irony in how it works, but it's
very much so. Yeah. Okay, so let's say someone wanted to get in touch with you. What is the best way for them to get in touch with you, Laura?
For me, it's just to go to our you can Google my name, put Laura Roach Attorney, you'll find me. But it's McCatherine Law Firm. Just go to the website, and then you can. There's a contact me on there.
And she does call back.
I do. Oh yeah, as long as I have the message, I will call you back.
Yes. Yes.
And Angela, what about you?
I would say probably same thing. You could, you could Google Angela Deaton Lender, but also AngelaDeaton.com is my website, and no spaces, no hyphens.
That's so creative.
Or you guys
it is creative. Thank you.
You can also call me. And
I'm being known for my creativity. But
and I'll say this: we are having a divorce panel. It's you must RSVP to come. That's going to be on March 22nd. So we are going to have Laura and Angela, Judge John Roach, and our attorney Brandy Doster Aguam on the panel.
And financial advisor.
Elka, our financial advisor. So if you guys want to come, reach out to me, and we can get you on the guest list.
Yeah, and if they have any questions, you guys can. I mean, they can email me or whatever too. I mean, email either one of us. So
perfect. Awesome.
Well, thank you guys so much for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
And we'll look for another time to come in to do our next.
We'll make a list.
I think we got it.
Make a list. I think I think the prenups and what was it that you said, Viagra?
Viagra. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
our next episode. Stay tuned for our next.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching another episode of Spilling the LT, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.